Hello, today my name is Connor Byer and I'll be presenting the battery industry harder than you think. What I mean by that is that right now you would think that the battery market is a great place to get into with the high valuations, high growth opportunities, cutting edge technology, but I'm here to present today that it's a little bit more going on behind the curtain than you might imagine. So my executive summary or agenda of this presentation, I'll first be giving a broad overview of the battery industry and the market growth in the future. I'll next be going into some of the trends with battery technology and the risks associated with that. Then I'll be going into 3 companies that I think fit the criteria of EIC and their investment opportunities. And finally, I'll be giving a recommendation for EIC to pick Wildcat Discovery Technologies. So to start off, an industry overview. As you can see in the chart in the top left, the battery industry is valued at about $120 to $130 billion right now. Now this is expected to increase about 14% per year to $423 billion in 2030. So a massive amount of growth potential and not to mention exponential growth going into the future. Of this $423 billion in 2030, about 60 to 70% or 257 billion will be just lithium batteries. So this battery is not going anywhere. It is going to be taking up more market share than it already is. On the right here, top right, we have some of the major companies taking up and their market share percents. So CATL on the top left there is the biggest with 35%. That basically covers almost all the other competitors, the large competitors. Now, CATL, LG Solution, BYD, and Panasonic, and SK Innovation, they entirely make up 77% of the battery market. What does this mean? Well, it means that the rest of the pie is going to be a battlefield for who gets that share. This is not going to be easy with an oligarchy of companies that control the market. And not to mention, all of them are located in the Asian Pacific, which is going to be forecast the fastest growing market, a CAGR of 23.4% to 2028. Some of the battery trends and risks that I've noticed doing this market research project is that there really is a technological boom in the battery space. Right now, battery energy densities are about 200 to 250 of lithium ion and nickel, manganese, and cobalt as the cathode. And that's with a graphite anode as well. So right now, that energy density of 200 to 250 is being demolished, even in today's terms. CATL, the largest market player, and my last slide, is developing a battery right now with a 350 watt-hour to kilogram energy density. That is going to tear apart the competition if they're able to produce that fast enough. On the graph here, as you can see, energy densities are, like CATL is improving upon, going to steadily increase into the future. Right now, we have batteries that have a graphene to silicon anode and some high nickel cathodes that is probably making up some of CATL's design, but it is supposed to shift every 10 years in technology, which is a wild discovery by S&P. Now, some of the risks in this space are that the lithium demand is going to outpace the supply. And what do I mean by that? Well, right now our supply of lithium is about 700 gigawatt hours worth of lithium supply. And that makes up the market space right now and covers all the demand. However, in the future, demand is going to over quadruple to over 3,000 gigawatt hours. This is going to miss the supply that is forecasted by 50%. So you can see how there is now a big gap in the market where demand for EVs, renewable energy, grids, AI is not going to be sustainable for just lithium batteries, at least by what McKinsey has found. So here are some of the new players of the battery industry. First spot, we have Nanoramic Laboratories. What is this company? This is the battery manufacturer that is trying to rebuild a battery with a silicon anode and a high amount of nickel in the cathode. So just like the S&P global graph. They are headquarters in the US and they have about 70 employees, which is down about 30 from August, not a great sign. But they have raised about $75–80 million, which means they are sufficiently backed. This puts them at an estimated valuation about 250 to 300 million at a 3x multiple, which is right within EIC's investment opportunity range. The last deal was about 30 million with GM Ventures. This is a good sign. GM Ventures, Global Motors is a big company, and having backing like that is what sort of made some of these companies like QuantumScape in 2021 get so high in their valuations. Their financials, they are commercialized already. They have about 8.4 million in revenue, but that was recorded in 2020. So some have counted the notes. Why is that the only revenue? You know, what happened in 2021, 2022, where also there are layoffs of about a third of the company. They do have an energy density of about 350 watt-hours per kilogram, their battery, and they were spun out of MIT. So all things considered, I've given them about a 4 out of 10. If I could ask them some questions, I would ask, you know, how much is your battery costing? What happened to your revenues? And some things like that. What happened with the layoffs? The next company we have is Skeleton Technologies. They are a supercapacitor, ultracapacitor company, which their basically value in product is that a supercapacitor is basically going to be something that can discharge a lot of power in a short amount of time and have a lot of cycles. So what is this good for? Well, in your car, when maybe some power spikes, or maybe just running your iPad screen and touch controls in the front, that can be used for a supercapacitor to come in and take those large bursts of energy and save your lithium battery energy to be used in the drive in your car. This can also be used in grid and peak hours, and instead of draining the battery so much, you can have the supercapacitor take away that peak, and now you have more efficient batteries. So this company is headquartered in Estonia, which is not a great sign, not the US as EIC would like, but there is 220 employees, which means the business has grown quite a bit, and they have raised 205 million. Their valuation is estimated at 250 to 300 million by Bloomberg in 2022, so very recent valuation, which is good. And their last deal was about 42 million in 2022 as well, so they are still getting funding. This company does have the biggest revenue of 30 to 40 million, which that is a great sign. A lot of companies at this stage don't have anywhere close. As you can see, the two companies around have about 10 million in revenue. So very good there and very, you know, safe in terms of investor, knowing that they can bring in that demand, that revenue. Some notes here, they are first in their class of 42 private competitors. And they are implementing a graphene anode for their supercapacitor, or graphene component, I should say, for their supercapacitor, which will greatly increase the energy density in their value proposition. This gives me a rating, all things considered, about 6 out of 10. I really like the revenue and that they have kind of grown their company in a very steady way. I'm a little iffy on supercapacitor's capabilities, but I do see a lot of gaps in the market for that to work. Lastly, we have Wildcat Discovery Technologies. This company is basically a research company for drug discovery and battery chemistries. They say that their high throughput platform will speed up R&D by about 10 times traditional research solutions. They also have developed a battery called the Supercell at 500 watt-hours per kilogram, which greatly blows out of the water traditional battery energy density of about 250. Their company has 104 employees and is located in the US and has raised about $160 million. I've used this number to come up with an estimated valuation about 300 to 500 million at a 2 to 3 times multiple, which is standard for some of these battery companies and around this space. and their last deal was $90 million about a year ago. So good to see that companies still want to invest a lot of money. They do have revenue as well of about 10 to 15 million. I'm not sure exactly what this revenue is broken up in, as they don't tell you, but good to see that their research is valuable to other companies. Some notes. They do have a partner company called Enobot, and they have partners or investors such as Fifth Wall Climate and Eastman Kodak. So finally, we're coming into my recommendation. Wildcat Discoveries is the company that I think has the best possibility of surviving in this space. Now, why do I think that? Well, let's go to their values. They have a research and drug discovery company, which in this industry, like I said, there's a lot of major players. That means that trying to commercialize, compete, and produce faster than these and make a product that beats out their products in a fast enough time is very, very risky. Here, they can sell their technologies to these big players for lots of money. They can also sell it to the smaller companies. And even if the battery industry research doesn't work, they always have their drug discovery business. So I like the types of avenues there. For their supercell they created, 500 watt hours per kilogram is very, very high. And if this is true, then they have a lot of value here for the EV mobility space or even defense space. So what's kind of all my investment hypothesis? The one, I like their location in the US. They're in California. So they're right beside EIC. EIC can check them out. They're a low-ish company with lots of avenues. Like I said, they can do drug research, battery research. They're not confined to one area. They have a valuation right within 300 to 500 million, which is within EIC's range. And finally, just some questions that I'd ask company before maybe, going through with this or just considering the option is, how does this high throughput system work or high throughput platform work? What is kind of like, why is this better than traditional? They tell you some based on the website, but it'd be nice to get an in-depth guide about what's going on there. And then some battery test information about this 500 watt hour per kilogram battery. That would be great to know if, they have the tests that all the other batteries are standard to, or what's kind of like the report there. And lastly, I'd want to know about the customer breakdown. What customers have they garnered for that 10 to 15 million revenue? Is that all drug discovery, or is that battery and battery chemistries? So those are kind of just some of the things I'd ask. But I really like the company and their position. If I had that information, I could probably give a better or a higher belief rating. And finally, I would just like to thank EIC. It's been an incredible journey, and I've loved getting to know the people as well. If you want to know any more information about me, I have it on this slide. But yeah, thank you.